In the conference that we just finished, witches also came. You know they are invited there. It's public. So some of them were arrested. So they took them to deliverance room. We have a deliverance room that was filled throughout the conference. We had to escape. Thank you for this invitation. We had to escape because the problems. You know, must escape. You know, for you, I have to come here. Even though the right thing to do is to escape. So one of the witches told the deliverance, I'm not the one doing the deliverance. If not, you would have heard that I have died. So the deliverance chief came to my house. I said, this was the intelligence we got from the deliverance room. The witches said they've been trying to cut you down, but you're standing in one circle. They've not been able to penetrate. That's the secret. That's the manifestation of the secret. But I'm telling you the matters that generate such possibilities. That's what I'm telling you. That your womb can be open. They began to go around the wall with silence. First day. Second day looked like punishment. Third day looked like punishment. Invincible armies. By the time they shouted, and that shout is what the book of Psalms calls Shabak. It's one of the words for praise in Hebrew. You know, I don't know how many of you pray in tongues, you get to a point you need to shout for ventilation. That's Shabak. It's not a human-made shout. That's the only way you can get ventilation. If you don't shout like that, something is trapped inside like a tornado, a volcano. So it was that type of shout. They were pregnant with something, and the only way to release it was Shabak. When they Shabaked, after the seventh time of going round and observing the oath of silence, the angels stood on the wall and they stamped on it. Even archaeologists have confirmed that the wall of Jericho did not fall, it sank. It was the oath of silence. Alignments with angels. The time of talk and hard measures is over. Ministry has changed. There's a new line of service delivery we need to bring to our generation. People are not prepared for this day. The next 4 years will reveal the great divide. People that have been in the struggle of spiritual stockpiles. They've been in that struggle. God has separated them already. So what you will be seeing now are scandals, things people do in hiding all those 4 years that some other people were investing and creating spiritual stockpiles, because God has weighed certain ministers in the balance. He has found them wanting. He has ended their transmission. That's a prophecy. Because there's a new breed. They've been making investments. You know, it's just like Noah was building an ark and there was no water to drive it. These guys began to make investment when it did not look like there was any need for it. Meanwhile, the investment making is the object of separation. That's the sign of those that God called to step up to a higher plane so that they can leave the ones that are playing games in the valley. The separation was accomplished long time ago. It's the manifestation that we're seeing now. Ina pokelao. Orosi kapamba hala esko. Bremina kutela izakude baku. Leisko fama laiko pamenasike. Brokoske. Lambro hubenale. Silamongo bosina habakatale. Broske falatos kito kumba mina keli. Rumahai la pakabala. It's time for us to showcase power. Nothing happens except power is on display. The salvation of Nigeria will be an act of power. There are people that believe that they can kill people and kill people until they have control over Nigeria. They've not seen the future. That's not our destiny. What those people are trying to achieve will never come to pass in this country. I'm not a politician. It will never come to pass. They should go and look for something else and do. God, in a short while, and I don't want to give you a time frame, I just want to give you an idea. God in a short while will demand for every blood that was spilled in the land. He will demand for it. Bitter curses will come on the families of people that conceived that wickedness. It will never come to pass. You see, unfortunately for human beings, there is no change that takes place in the natural. And unfortunately again, for human beings, there is nothing you conceive in your heart to do that is contrary to the counsel of God that has any possibility of fulfillment. The counsel of God is superior to your prayer, superior to your fasting. In fact, when you begin to pray, God sits and communes with you. And that's why most of the time your prayer is not answered the way you prayed it. It was not even the response was not consistent with your expectation, because he consulted with the counsel that is in his will before he determined how to respond. There is a way he will respond that his will be affected. His response always protects his will. Doing something that is outside of his will, hoping to use witchcraft to establish it, it will look as if it's working. But and maybe the progress you are making will be an encouragement to you to continue. The reason why he has not struck you is because he wants you and your family to be fully snared. So he wants you to do it in such a way that justice will capture your family and your great-grandchildren. Don't fight. Don't come and start doing strange things on a nation that God has called. Go into the council. Find out what is his will first. You will see it. It will happen in our lifetime. No. When you go to the place of the deep, when you go there, you will know who is boasting by the arm of the flesh and who is standing on solid ground. You will know the difference. When men talk, the meaning of their speaking is not the same. Some may trust in horses, but we will trust in the name of the Lord our God. If you want to generate some of the highest possible spiritual energies at your disposal, you will need to take an oath of silence, where you would not speak to any mortal being for 3 days, for 7 days. Hallelujah. Everything will fight it. Try it. Make up your mind in the night that from tomorrow, if you are married, talk to your husband. I want to try 24 hours without talking. That's how they took over Jericho. Jericho was designed like a cuboid. The engineers that put it together were not hoping that there will be any human possibility to breach those walls. When Joshua went to inspect the impregnable fortress, all his military tactics as a general came to naught at the sight of that wall. And God wanted to teach him some spiritual secrets. It means he had to go deeper. Please help me tell your neighbor, we've been on the surface for making noise for too long. It's time. Wise men are taking their journey. They are going deeper. I remember we were praying for a certain election somewhere, and there was a note of victory on the heart of all the intercessors, until one lady now fell into a trance. She now saw the person that we were praying against, that he should not win this election. The person went into a forest. That's in the trance. She was prophesying. Went into the forest with a baby. They did human sacrifice. And the way the election turned, the person went deeper. On their own control room too, they could see the figures that the energy they have released is not sufficient to purchase favor. No, there's something called favor. The race is not to the swift. Oh, the battle is not to the strong. Before we reach, they would have closed. So we go deep. We go deep. We go deep. We go deep. So they know. You know, there was an event that took place in Lagos. After that event that took place, many intercessors concluded that there were several people whose political career had ended. And the people too read the control room, the indicators on the control room, and knew that indeed that was the case. But the intercessors did not know that there were possibilities of going deeper. Favor can be bought, it's purchased. If you understand your territory, there are strong places where spirits come to take offerings and sacrifice. There are strong places. You want to... there are some things I don't want to say on. We are worldwide. You need to go deep. You know, a lot of people believe that you don't need to pay any price because Jesus paid the price. But the truth of the matter is that you need to pay a price because Jesus paid the price. That's how he authored it. His price is what makes your own price efficacious. Without his price, your price will mean nothing. If Jesus gave us the example of how to interact with the realm of the spirit, that sacrifice is a key factor. And in his death, he satisfied the claims of divine justice and paved the way for entry into the crucible of eternal life. It means that sacrifice is one of the things that can reconfigure the realm of the spirit to accommodate new realities. So his sacrifice makes your own efficacious. Without the sacrifice, your own sacrifice has no meaning. It doesn't strike any chord anywhere. He that cometh to God must believe that he is. We all have that. But we also need to believe that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. Part of what it means to diligently seek, part of it is, you know, in coming to God, in dealing with God, in transacting with God, part of it is to take advantage of the fidelity of God. And that's where the vow comes. The woman called the king, you are my son. You are the son of my womb. You are the son of my vow. You are a product of my spiritual transaction. Because of that, you cannot live anyhow. Other people that came naturally without spiritual transactions, this message may not be directed to them. But because there was some spiritual transaction related to your manifestation, you are bound by this code. When last did you trade with God, transact with God? That you had to bind yourself, limit yourself with a vow of some sort. You had to deny yourself something because you were transacting. An oath of silence. Can you keep quiet for 24 hours? You must talk. That's why you are like this. Warlocks, sometimes they put leaf in their mouth just to minister to their mind that I am not supposed to talk. I'm talking on Monday, talking on Tuesday, talking on Wednesday, talking on... You shout on Friday in the night. You shout. Meanwhile, deep people have kept, they're already silent. Sometimes even Christian music, I don't want to hear it. Shut down. Because there are times in heaven when there's silence, when nobody's talking. I'm afraid. Sorry, a young man, he says he's a prophet. He's prophesied every month. We made God a talkative. Let me tell your neighbor, it's time to keep quiet. You know, one of our pastors, had some wizards that were relatives, and he was always complaining about them. Then I did a teaching. The full teaching of what I'm exhorting you about, the full teaching. I did it. After doing it, he took courage. And he left food, and also he did not speak for 3 days. Spirits. Then he opened his mouth and began to curse. The next person that came there to offer sacrifice to the spirit killed that person. Because he had reprogrammed that. Oh, you don't know, even demons can be sent on an errand. The spirit killed the priest. He fell off there. The demons that were going to be used to strike him, when he did what he did, the demons were against the priest that used to give him offering. He fell. You don't know the kind of power that you can harness if you can keep quiet. Can you stay for 8 hours just speaking in tongues and you don't respond to any human being? If they speak to you, you say, do you still remember when Elisha was sending Gehazi to go and raise the dead? You know, one of the instructions he gave him is, oh, you're not with me. Let me leave you. You're not interested. Let me go back to my... He said, when you see anybody on the road and they greet you, don't answer. Those are spiritual men giving prescriptions on how to hold some spiritual things. You fast, and then come out, then you insult the evening. See your head. The whole... Oh, I see la mocha pedicata. Curiasi commenta oramal. There is no way you can claim to be working with God, and we can't visually see the effect of your conviction play out in the way you do your own civil service work, the way you do business, the way you... It will trickle down to your lifestyle. And even though we men of faith are going to be similar, there's an aspect of your own individual life, there's an aspect of your individual life that will manifest a side of God and a symptom of encountering God which will be superfluous. It will be different from others. So even though in the community of the people of faith, we are men of faith, we walk with God and all of that, there will be an aspect of your life that is not common. And that aspect will be the label that you carry in your faith walk. So for Enoch, it was a depth of conviction that bound him as a prisoner to the will of God. And it will interest you to know that the context around which God dealt with him was heaven. So he was more of a creature that interacted with things that are heavenly than things that were earthly. We were not told how he dealt with people, but we were told about his activity of pleasing God, and that was informed by the dynamics, the reality of heaven that was revealed to him. And eventually a day of rapture for him, but he was being sucked in every day that he traded with God. It is in an attempt to give believers of every generation an opportunity now to understand the dynamics of working with God that verse 6 was written. But without faith, it is impossible to please God. Then, after making that bold statement, he now gives us understanding. Sometimes when you read the Bible, you need to be careful to identify spiritual facts. Careful to identify spiritual facts. For instance, Paul was praying for the Ephesian church, and the object of his prayer was that they may know. That is spiritual fact. Your advancement spiritually is truncated if the corridor of spiritual fact is close to you. There are several things that God has already done. As long as you do not know them. And I'm not just talking about things that you can study the Bible and know. That's the level of, that's first level of knowing spiritual facts. There's some things that Jesus has accomplished, and it's in the Bible. You can read it and know it and upgrade yourself consistent with the spiritual fact. There are other things that your spiritual exercises have created, and you still need to know them. When Noah set up an altar and made intercession to God after the flood, when God responded to him, meanwhile, it interests you to know that that was the first man that prayed that God responded to, as it is documented in the Bible. But unfortunately for Noah, the response of God was not vocal. He responded in his heart. He spoke, but the speaking was in his heart. So if Noah doesn't have access to the spiritual facts that are now obtainable in view of his spiritual activity, he will still be operating as if God has not spoken. You are not following me, but I will not explain further. So without faith, it is impossible to please God. Then he gives us practice and procedure. He that cometh to God, there are rules of engagement. You can decide not to deal with God. But if you want to deal with God, the prescription was laid out. And he had the opportunity to give us this prescription when he was talking about Enoch. He that cometh to God must believe that he is. Must believe that he's a rewarder of them that diligently seek. I'm still talking about a vow as a means of moving the hand of God. Because a lot of people, church people, are in situations, in circumstances, and you have done all you know to do. The things have not shifted. It means you are called, God is calling you into a deeper walk. And the deeper walk will require that you have access to some techniques. He that cometh to God must believe that he is, and that is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. Believe that he is. That's what happened to you when you gave your life to Christ. It means we all have the first step. Then the second step is based on the first step.